I'm Ernie Floyd, and welcome to Unity in the Community again. This is Unity in the Community show. It embraces the city of Worcester's diverse cultural communities, music, the arts, and healthy lifestyles. And joining me today on Unity in the Community is a person who attended the College of the Holy Cross. He's from New York City, and he's coming to us from New York City. He's the Chief Operating Officer of Care for the Homeless. And when we talk about the homeless, as we did in our last segment, it's something that's being not only talked about, but also being experienced with a lot of people. And you're taking on a lot of responsibility soon. And I find that when you shared about your life past from New York to Worcester at the College of Holy Cross and your experience there, and then back to New York City, have you looked back and realized that your life was being prepared for what you're doing today?
I do. And that's not lost on me. The values that the school teaches, it's very similar to how I grew up. All right. My father was a press and a dry cleaner. My mother worked in a laundry. So we didn't have a lot, but never once did I hear them tell me you have to go to college. But in communications, in interactions, and conversations we would have around the house, by the time I was a freshman in high school, I knew that that's what was expected of me. So it was the same thing at Holy Cross. Going there for 4 years, even though I'm Catholic now, I wasn't Catholic then. So never even set foot into St. Joseph's. Never attended any religious services, but just the interaction with other students on campus, with the guys that I talked about early on that I went to school with, and the faculty. It wasn't too long post-graduation where I realized that I wanted to do more. And one of the reasons why I wanted to do more was because Holy Cross expects you to do more.
And more you have done. And you've also explained and expressed how you were at Wall Street and how you were really in the upper echelon of the business and the corporate and the finance world, into come respectfully into coming down in humbling yourself in serving this population, which is the homeless population, which is a very important population to serve, because we need people of your expertise and of your commitment, dedication to support this audience. You could have stayed up there, but at the time, for some reason, by losing your job, because just think, if you stayed there and you didn't lose your job in the white collar organizations, you wouldn't be where you are today. And so I'm pretty sure you must look back and say there must be a purpose, or there must be a calling for you, and whatever took place back then to put you where you are today, where you're working with the homeless, where you was, like you said earlier, potentially you would be out of business, but you're growing. And not only growing because of the audience of the people that you're serving, but you're growing because financially you're gaining the support as well. Mm-hmm. And it's coming from somewhere, and the agency must be doing something to allow you to operate and continue to operate the way you're doing to support the people of New York City.
Yeah, we are being recognized by a lot of organizations around the city that we provide high quality health care and shelter services to our population. One of the things that my CEO, George Nashak, said day one when he joined our organization about a year after me is that the people we serve, the population we serve, deserve, not should have, but deserve health care that's equal to or better than the health care you and I get. And I saw that play out firsthand a couple of years ago. One of my responsibilities, as I mentioned, is building new health centers and renovating some of our existing health centers. And I was at one of our health centers. We had just finished renovations, and there was dust, a bit of dust around. And somebody called me and said, well, we may need to get a cleaning crew in here. And I had just gone to the place and I looked and I said, well, it's not that bad. We really don't need a cleaning crew. Just at that time, an African American man who was coming in for a doctor's appointment, checked in at the front desk, and then went to sit. And they were black chairs, and he could see the little film of white dust on the black chairs, and he lost his mind. He had a newspaper with him, and he just started beating the chair with the newspaper to clear the dust. And he's saying, "Can't," with each, he was enunciating with each swipe of the paper, "Can't I at least have a clean place to sit?" And that, in a nutshell, typified for me a lot of what people experiencing homelessness go through. Here, this man was coming in to see a doctor, and he couldn't even have a clean place to sit in the doctor's office. So I got religion that day real quick.
Yeah, it was something that we took for granted by minimizing that situation, as to say, just be satisfied that you have a facility and you have a chair, and it's business as usual. We can just operate, and they'll appreciate it. And then I think the person was right. And I find myself in those situations too, whereas I'm not homeless by any stretch, and I hope not to be that, but I can identify with when you're trying to, I work very hard in what I do in supporting my family and supporting the community. And in some instances, you do find yourself in some dwellings or some location, and you say, can I at least get this service respectfully provided for me, which is no attitude,
Right.
no judgment, and the list goes on.
Right.
And it goes across the board, what the gentleman was experiencing. And so that was a check on your point to realize that, something, we have to be better, basically. And just that experience alone is another learning experience for yourself. And also, it's obviously it carries over in your organization. So you've had a number of fundraisers, and you have numerous people that are supporting your organization. And now you're coming into some net assets is by, tell us a little bit more about your building facilities, because usually I experience people talking about the homeless population and what they need and how can they be served. And then it kind of ends right there. But you're actually putting action behind what you guys are providing for the homeless. Can you talk about that, please?
Sure. As I mentioned, right now we have 19 ambulatory centers throughout the city, and they provide primary care, oral health, podiatry, behavioral health, substance abuse counseling, and the full gamut. And what we want is, we're not transactional. Okay, yes, if you're injured, or yes, if you don't feel well, of course you come in. But we are creating a continuity of care. 14 of our health centers have been cited by the federal government for the quality of care that they provide. So we want our patients to know that they can come see their doctor or their nurse. They're not just coming to get a treatment. They're coming to have a doctor's visit, just like we do. Because of that success and what we've been doing, we've been awarded $7.5 million from the New York State Department of Health, $2.5 million to renovate our existing health centers, and then another $5 million to build 5 community-based health centers. We have one that opened in Brownsville just recently. We have another one on the Jerome Avenue, Wakefield section of the Bronx that's going to open shortly. And as we speak, I'm in the process of building 2 more. One across the street from Lincoln Hospital, not too far from Yankee Stadium in the Bronx. And then another one in East New York, again in Brooklyn, because East New York, the population there is so acutely underserved in terms of medical needs that we want to make sure we stand up the kind of services that the people in that community need. So by the end of 2024, we will probably have about 32. We'll have 32 ambulatory care health centers, and we will have 5 shelters. The 2 shelters we have now for women living with mental illness, and then we're building another 2 shelters for men with mental illness, and then we're building what we call a safe haven. which means we can begin addressing the street homeless issue. Meaning, with a safe haven, you don't need to go through the Department of Homeless Services system. You can literally come indoors off the street and get a bed that night. That's your bed. And so we're building a facility like that should go online end of first quarter next year.
Incredible in reference to where the care for the homeless, and I'm talking to Ron Lawson, Chief Operating Officer for Care for the Homeless, where it started several years ago. In your young tenure there, you're only talking about 3, 4, 5 years, probably the most, and you have a long way to go. But look how far you've come with the support from the city, and it's attainable because of the fact that you have a great reputation. And I find it an incredible feat that you're able to accomplish this, because how are you able to get everyone on board to support this initiative and also bring in and not shortchange the quality as you're providing the service as well? And that's very important. So we're going to continue that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're going to continue that conversation with you. And this is Ron Lawson, Chief Operating Officer, joining me right here on Unity in the Community. He's the Care for the Homeless in New York City. And we're talking to Ron via Worcester to New York connection back to Worcester, because he's had some roots here in the city of Worcester. He attended the College of the Holy Cross. And we're talking about something that's very important. And you're not going to want to miss our last segment here. So I'm Ernie Floyd. This is Unity in the Community. Our show embraces the city of Worcester's diverse cultural communities, the music, the arts, and healthy lifestyles. And we're going to be right back right here on Unity 979, Worcester's Community Connection.